So, I want to start with a story. It's one you've probably heard 1,000 times, but stick with me because it holds this surprisingly modern warning for all of us. Okay, so picture this. A farmer has a goose, and this goose lays solid gold eggs. I mean, what a miracle, right? But he gets impatient. And his plan, it seems simple, even logical on the surface. He thinks, well, the gold has to be inside the goose somewhere, right? So to get it all at once, he kills the goose and finds nothing. He's just destroyed the very system that was creating the value he wanted.
So, the big question is why? Why did his simple, totally logical plan backfire so spectacularly? The answer to that is the key to understanding this hidden danger we all face every single day.
You see, the farmer's big mistake wasn't just greed, it was this fundamental misunderstanding of complexity, a mistake that, honestly, we're all encouraged to make constantly.
Think about it. We live in this culture that's obsessed with simplification. Simplify your business, simplify your design, simplify your life. And look, a lot of the time, that's great advice. But the farmer's story shows us there's a line. There's a point where simplification stops being helpful and becomes just destructive.
And this limit, this boundary that you just can't cross, it actually has a name. You can think of it like a cliff edge, hiding just past the sunny fields of simple.
You know, it turns out Albert Einstein gave us the perfect way to think about this. He famously said that everything should be made as simple as possible. And that's our green light, right? Go ahead, simplify. But then he dropped the most important part, but no simpler. That second half, that's the warning sign right before you go over the cliff.
And this is a really useful distinction. We all know Occam's razor, right? If you've got two explanations, just pick the simpler one. It's a tool for selection, choosing between existing things. But Einstein's razor is different. It's a rule for designing something new. It tells you to keep stripping away parts, keep simplifying, until the very next thing you remove breaks the whole system. That's the edge. That's when you stop.
So, this whole idea has a name, irreducibility. It's basically the study of that cliff edge. It's all about finding the absolute bare minimum setup a system needs to work, or to communicate, or to just exist. You know, it's the farmer learning way too late that a living, breathing goose was an irreducible, essential part of his golden egg factory.
Okay, so how does this actually play out in the real world? This idea of irreducibility applies to literally everything, from managing a project to just sending an email. Let's look at a couple of really different examples.
Warren Buffett has this fantastic quote that perfectly explains something called temporal irreducibility. It's brilliant. He says you can't make a baby in 1 month by getting 9 women pregnant. You just can't throw more resources at some problems to make them go faster. Some things just have an irreducible time requirement. It's such a powerful reminder that simplifying a problem on a spreadsheet doesn't mean you've simplified it in reality.
Or think about communication, which has its own version of this, informational irreducibility. A perfect example is that classic wartime slogan, "Loose lips sink ships." It gets across a huge amount of meaning with the absolute minimum number of words. Try taking a single word out, it breaks, the message falls apart. Why? Because the cultural context of wartime fills in all the gaps. If you tried to add more words like, "Please be careful not to discuss sensitive military operations," you'd actually make the message weaker, not stronger.
Now, of course, getting this right is tricky. It's really easy to get it wrong, and people tend to fall off this simplification cliff in one of two opposite directions.
So on one side, you've got the over-reduction fallacy. That's the farmer's big mistake, right? You cut away something that's absolutely essential, and the whole system just collapses. But on the other side, you have what's called the sacred component error. This is when you refuse to get rid of something that's totally unnecessary, maybe because that's just how we've always done it. This leads to bloat, to inefficiency. Both are a failure to find that true, irreducible core.
Okay, so how do we stay on that narrow path? How do we find that sweet spot between total collapse and bloated inefficiency? Well, it turns out it all comes down to asking yourself one simple but incredibly powerful question.
And here it is. This is the question you can apply to literally anything you're working on. What is the minimum necessary for a thing to still be that thing? Think about it. What's the minimum number of features an app needs to still solve the core problem for its user? What's the minimum number of words in an email for the message to be perfectly clear? What's the absolute minimum number of supports for a bridge to still be, well, a bridge? Asking this question forces you to define the absolute essence of what you're doing.
And that really brings us full circle, back to the goose. See, irreducibility isn't just about tidying up or decluttering. It's a way of thinking that forces you to discover what truly, fundamentally matters. The magic of the golden eggs wasn't in the goose's feathers or its heart, but in the living, complex, irreducible system of the whole goose. So the question for you is, take a look around at what you're building, what you're writing, what you're doing. What's the irreducible core?